guys, we are back in session living the authentic life. We are throwing out our newest, most fabulous two girlfriends, Sneha Merchant, Stacey Lindseth, and you guys are here today to talk about, you've given so much to our community, so much around the world, things that you impact. And that's actually, I think, how all of us met the first time was through charity events and seeing each other out and about in charity. And I think the interesting thing in Houston is that if you're going to have a fashion event in Houston, you have to have it for a charity. You just can't have a fashion event. And both of you are so passionate about your fashion styles, but even more about your philanthropy. And it seems like these have become your most significant passion projects, although you are involved in so many different organizations, but we'll talk about them later. But Operation Smile, Sneha, you helped found it in Houston.
Actually, I wouldn't take that credit. Viet founded it.
Okay.
And he pulled me in.
Okay. And then shortly after that, you have been recruiting Stacey to be your partner in fundraising, friend raising.
Not say no.
I've been unofficially on this side, just kind of like inching my way in.
Unofficially raising a lot of funds. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And one of the coolest things that y'all do too is, the coolest thing you do is you bring smiles to kids' faces that have cleft pallets.
Yeah.
And I was astonished, remind me again, how much is it to change a child's life and put a smile on their face?
$240. That's it. It's a dinner.
It's truly, I mean, it's kind of a dinner for one in New York or Miami or different places around the world. And so tell us about, so it started in what country? How did this all come about?
So about, I would say in 1982, Dr. Bill McGee and his wife, Kathy McGee, they are the founders of Operation Smile. They actually went to Asia on a mission trip, and they just could not leave any children behind because they felt that there was an overwhelming need for cleft lip and palate surgeries. And he had to go back, but then he was like, you know what, I'm going to come back and I'm going to bring a crew of highly skilled surgeons that can take care of more children. And so back in 1982, it's about 41 years now, this started. And for me, my journey in Operation Smile was pretty much my very good friend Viet, who is our co-chair and our founder in Houston, in 2008 went to the LA Gala. And he was just mesmerized by the whole need for something so simple, right? It's a smile. Everyone can smile, but there are certain children that cannot smile. And at that time, this was just a year after I gave birth to my son, Zarian. And being a mom and just feeling the need that, okay, my son is blessed to be born with a smile, and it only takes $240 to change another child's smile forever. I mean, it's not just a smile, it is a lot more to it. Some of the children cannot breathe, some of the children cannot eat. They need like speech therapy even after surgery. So it's like just taking care of the child completely, changing the life completely. And for $240, if you can do that. And I told Viet, he was like, you want to do this? And I was like, yes, I'm all in. And that's how it started. It's been 8 years that Viet and I have been chairing this event in Houston, and we've raised more than $2 million alone in Houston. So
it's incredible. Cool. And last year you were able to go with them on that fabulous ski trip and meet so many people from around the country. Tell about that experience.
Well, that was actually I think the third year that we participated. But one of the events that was founded by Brooke Burke out of LA in Park City, she does this Celebrity Ski and Smile Challenge. It was her kind of brainchild, I guess. And it's really fun because it involved families, and it just is a much more relaxed environment than a gala. And shockingly, they raised just as much money, if not more, in in this event.
Yeah.
But it was so fun because you got to go and like in a relaxed setting, interact with other people who are just very passionate from all over the country. And obviously some's called the Celebrity Ski and Smile Challenge, some celebrities. And you just get to interact through something that you can see they're so passionate about. And the other thing is that one of Bill and Kathy's sons lives there. And so their family comes, and their family is just very involved in the charity. They have 2 daughters and another son who is also a plastic surgeon, followed in his father's footsteps. And so you really get to interact in a way that you don't really get to interact with a charity here, because you get to see generations of people who have shared this passion as a family, the way that like Sneha really and her family have carried on doing that. And it just really, it gives you a different like heart feeling when you can interact with the people who have really started something and created this movement, really is what it is, I think. As opposed to, you know, just showing up and donating some money and watching a fashion show and eating a nice dinner, which nothing's wrong with those things. We love those things. Like you said in Houston, everything is a, you know, philanthropy fundraiser. I think we're probably the most philanthropic city in the country, honestly. Yeah. But it was so fun and so cool. And my husband, Al, participated in the Ski and Smile Challenge. It's a downhill slalom race. Very amateur. Anyone can do it as long as you can get down.
Would be mad.
No.
For you to call it, are you listening to this, Al? She called you an amateur, and I know you're an athlete, dude.
Yes, he is an athlete.
I love to ski. I went and I saw the slope, and I turned back and I came down. I was like, I'm not participating.
If you can go down a blue, the first year that Al did it, he's never done a slalom race before. I mean, I will say, yes, Al is like the best skier I know, aside from professional athletes.
Rob wants to rival him, but we've never had a ski off yet.
And
maybe we have to go to Deer Valley. Exactly.
But whoops. But
I'm so excited I kicked my water over.
No, but that's one of the things that was really cool about it is really honestly, I mean, there was a 17-year-old boy a couple years ago who was him and Al were like trying to outpace each other, and like, you know, anyone could have done. I could have done it if I wanted to. I didn't want to, but you know, it just is just one of those very inclusive events. You don't feel like this is the VIP area or this is a special table.
A VIP.
Yeah, it's just was amazing. And then to be outside and in a beautiful environment like that, and to spend, it's like two full days of interactions and just getting to know people. And this past year, actually, it was really cool because, you know, there's always like a celebrity or two that are participating in the race. And this year, the idea that they had, instead of just having like actors, musicians, whatever, they brought on, I think it was was it 5 or 6 Olympic athletes? And they each had a team.
And they came with their gold medals, which was really cool.
Oh, yeah, we got to like hold them.
They were like, oh my God, they're heavy.
So cool.
And they're worth a lot because gold's really high right now.
For sure.
Exactly. They need armed guards with them.
But it was just amazing.
And I think I've been, like, as we're growing older and we're meeting new people and we're traveling more places around the world, I really see that people are incorporating mission trips or changing the world in their travel. And when they're going to places, it's not just, and I loved your quote that said, philanthropy is the biggest luxury.
Yep, I believe so.
And I just was able to do a trip this summer to Versailles, and it was related to saving Versailles. And it feels like when you meet with people who are purpose-driven, who are also have similar interests, that you can also unite to do a lot. Tell us a little bit about being in the trenches on the mission trip that you went on, and what you see from the families that travel so far to get these surgeries for their kids.
So we, I've been on 2 mission trips with Operation Smile. The first one was in Guatemala, and my second one was last year. The first one I went with my husband. My second one I went with my 13-year-old, now 14-year-old son, Zarian. And to me, both of these countries are third world countries, right? And they're developing countries, and there is a massive need for, healthcare, good healthcare. When you talk about Guatemala, we've noticed that all the mountainous areas is where the need is the most. We don't know how cleft lip happens. Literally, nobody knows how. It just happens.
Which is fascinating with all the medical research we have.
Right.
But it is more in pockets.
Yes,
Certain pockets of places are more likely to have a birth with a cleft palate?
Well, it's interesting. Actually, I used to think that when I first got involved with them, I thought, are you so passionate because like the countries like Viet is Vietnamese and Sneha is obviously from India. And I was like, is it because was this a strong need in the countries where you're from? And I actually learned through being involved that it's just as prevalent in the United States. But what happens is that the surgeries happen at birth. So you don't see it as frequently in countries that are wealthier because it's not an issue that a child might have to live with it the rest of their lives.
So there is this very famous influencer, I'm not going to take names, but his child was born with a cleft lip palate, and Operation Smile doctors were right there. This happened in Italy, and they took care of him, and he was very generous. He was very wealthy, so he donated $1 million back. When I go back and I try to research about how his daughter was born, there's not one single picture, one single mention about the daughter being born with a cleft lip palate.
Interesting.
Which is so interesting because everything was fixed right before it happened. So when you show your child to the world, over here in America, you're wealthy, so you show your child as a perfect child. But back in third world countries, they don't have access. They don't have access to clean water. They don't have access to even getting to a free surgery. All the surgeries are 100% free. The patient pays nothing. We make sure that if we even have to pay for the bus travel or any kind of train travel, we take care of that for the family as well. So all they have to do is show up.
And it's hundreds of people that show up.
Oh my God, yes. It's 100. So in India, we had more than 100 people showed up. But here's the thing, even though we have the ability to, do surgeries on so many children, we cannot because somebody, a child comes with a high fever. You cannot operate on them. A child has some other defect that needs to be addressed first, or I shouldn't say defect, but like an illness.
Yes.
And so our doctors are very trained. They first identify what the issue is. So it's not just like surgeons, it's like pediatrics, speech therapists. Like everyone has to go in there, go into the history of the child. So many times they don't even speak the languages that our volunteers speak. It's like some kind of language in the mountainous area. So we make sure that our volunteers are trained. They know how to translate and get it on. So when I went to India, it was really cool. There was this boy called Rahul that me and my son were following. He's a 9-year-old boy. A 9-year-old is very old to get surgery, right? And it's just that he waited because his family was very orthodox and his grandmother did not give his mother permission to send the child to Operation Smile to get a surgery done. Otherwise, he could have had a surgery when he was a year old. The mother knew about it. But there's so much social stigma that that's involved in all of this and I just feel that educating the masses back in India about it, that's what Operation Smile is also doing. They're like informing the people that send your children. It's a simple surgery. We have skilled doctors. We're educating them as well. It's amazing what Operation Smile does all over the world. I've just been to India and Guatemala, but our surgeries are happening currently in Colombia, in China, in Vietnam. We're all over, so it's really amazing.
Tell Danae about, because you have told me when we were trying to plan a mission trip for Al and I to go on this summer, kind of the schedule and like how it flows, like how they do a trip. Like there's like days where they're setting up clinic, there's like selection days, and then there's surgery days.
As a volunteer, if you're going for a trip, you're looking at a good 10 to 12 days because the first 3 days are basically just screening, processing. Then after screening, the next 2 days are trying to figure out if the child needs any kind of medical attention, any kind of aid that could be taken care of immediately, where the child could be sent to surgery. Then it's just the 2 days or 3 days of surgery, depending on how many kids show up, and then it's recovery. And then we literally do a follow-up after 6 months where all the children that have received surgeries come back. Now, here's another tough challenge that we face. They don't come back. They just don't show up. So, like, if the child needs another surgery, we are there to do it for them, but they need to come back. There are so many children that, in third world countries, once they're fixed, they get sent to do jobs.
Yes.
Child labor is something very common in these areas, and our volunteers go back and they go like, hey, we want to see how your child is, and they go, oh, he's at so-and-so cousin's house or whatever, but the volunteers know that he's been sent on a job now, or he's working somewhere.
And I know you've recently joined UNICEF.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things that you're doing also for the health and well-being of kids, from Deck My Room to, are there some crossovers between the organizations? Because I know UNICEF goes into some areas
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
tell us a little bit about that.
It's funny because there was a time when Operation Smile needed help, and the UNICEF team was on ground.
Because they have access places that other organizations can't get in.
Yes.
And let's talk about helping people outside the U.S. versus just staying focused. Because I hear a lot of people say, we have enough problems at home.
Yeah.
So I think $1 stretches a lot more in India and in Guatemala just because of the rate, right? $1 over here can get you nothing, but $1 over there is pretty much 80 rupees, which can get you a proper meal.
Which is just
$1.
Truly fascinating, because you think of what surgery costs in the U.S.
Oh my gosh.
Is there any surgery we could do for $240?
No.
Can't even get a root canal now.
No.
You could,
and part of the reason they can do that is like because everyone is a volunteer. All the surgeons, like all the staff, everyone is volunteering their time. So there is no overhead on that. That is literally just the cost of what, like materials and like actually what.
We have a great partnership with Johnson & Johnson. So they really help us out with our medication, and Baxter too. So we have some of these really amazing corporate sponsorships that come. They've funded all. I mean, Johnson & Johnson's all over the world. So it's very easy to get access to supplies with them. So having them as a partner is really good. But also like local partnerships, we need all of that, because at the end of the day, we're trying to raise as much as awareness about this that we can, because I mean, it's not that it's over, right? I mean, you take care of 100 patients, but there are 100 more born with cleft lip palate. It's a never-ending process. And it's hard to get to the root of like eradicating this because we don't know how anyone gets it.
Yes, it's really hard if you can't change the systemic problem that's happening, and you're creating that. So Stacey, you have so many different charities that you're involved with. How do you discern what you're most passionate about and figure out how to commit where you place your energy?
Right. And I do think also that is something that maybe a lot of us who used to sprinkle, now we're more like saturating, like really picking and choosing and getting a little bit more selective. Al and I have always preferred women and children's charities. I honestly, for many, many years, was very much more focused on more grassroots, more local things that I could see the difference and know what was happening. Charities that were founded in Texas and Houston. But I have always also been very supportive of friends. If they have a special cause and something that they're doing, I will buy a ticket, buy a table, go and support and show my support. And this just really started out as going to support friends. And then, like I said, I honestly feel like the gala was one thing, but seeing like the passion of my friends and how much they cared about it. And I hate to keep focusing on this, but going to the ski event and really spending a lot of time with the family who founded the event and seeing how many, there was a girl that got an award this year at the Ski and Smile event who had been going on mission trips since she was a small child with her family. It was like a family philanthropy. And I think I just fell in love with the passion that this group of people had for this particular cause and how much change they could actually affect. So to me, it was I want to see where the money goes. I want to see what the difference is. Everyone likes a before and after, and I think that it's very tangible. And the other thing I think you hit on about, the international, as much as that is a luxury, that is true. And I think, that thought process of we can do for our kids and we don't need to do for these other children. And I think it's very important to, if you do have the luxury to be able to spend time in other countries, even if you are on a luxurious beach vacation or whatever, you get to know the people and talk to the people that work at the resort, talk to the people who are, driving in the car, that work at the airport, and to involve your children and let them see that it's not us and them. We're all just like citizens of the world. And how can you differentiate that this child is not, this child is not deserving and this child is, just because of the geography in which they were born and what it says on their passport, where they belong, And I just think that all of that is just really I think that, like you said, like the more that you see other cultures, and Houston is the most international city. We're the most I can't even say the word now. Philanthropic.
Yes.
And the most international city, honestly, in the United States. Everyone thinks like New York, San Francisco, whatever. No, we have the most diverse city. And I think that it's very important to open your eyes and to soak that in and really try to dip your toe in and try to be welcoming and a part of every community and not just your own community.
Oh, very well said.
And that, I think, is why I've stuck with Operation Smile so long, aside from the close friendships, is because I feel like it really is one of those charities that speaks to the community of, the community of the world. And there's one story I have to tell, like Bill tells the story and I probably am going to get it wrong. And this is the one that like I use, like, because Al comes from a military family. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people probably that follow you also do. And Bill always, he told this story at something I was at, and I think it was at Sneha's house the first time I heard the story, about how during, I think it was the Reagan administration, he had a connection when he was a young plastic surgeon. He had a connection with someone who worked in the State Department, and they negotiated. They were the first organization to go into North Vietnam. And correct me if any of the facts are wrong, but and they were able to negotiate with the government that in exchange for coming in and doing these surgeries on the children, they were able to get the remains of, I think it was like 100
soldiers,
hundreds of POWs who were left behind after the Vietnam War. And I thought, this just shows what the passion and of this man, this family, and this organization has done, and how it really touches. You think going in these other countries doesn't affect you, but this is a very tangible example of how being part of the world community helps everybody.
Absolutely.
And I think it is an equalizer when we talk about health. I mean, certainly after going through COVID, we all look at our health in an even more significant way, and we don't take it for granted maybe as much as we used to. But to be able to go in and say, we're going to help your community, it does open doors. It opens conversations. UNICEF, in the way that they do, and they reach out to people, there is such a tremendous opportunity there just to get into a community and then see that we aren't so different. Although our governments might be different, as people, we have really common goals with one another. So you actually immigrated. You were born in India and immigrated here to the U.S. You grew up in Atlanta. So you're coming from different backgrounds too. Was philanthropy always a part of your life? Like, how did you grow into this? How are you passing it on to your kids?
So my mom is the reason why I got into philanthropy. All my life, I saw my mom volunteering, going on these mini mission trips and coming back in. There were days where I remember this story. There was an earthquake in Gujarat in India, and I remember my mom was one of the first set of volunteers that had gone to help the community. And when she came back, I felt she was depressed for like a whole week. And I was like, Mom, why do you do that? Like, why? For me, I had the conversation. I was like, why did you do that? Because now you're depressed. And she looked at me. She's like, somebody has to, right? And that to me was like, yeah, somebody has to.
Somebody has to raise their hand and step up. Yeah.
I mean, she had to sacrifice her time with her family, and that 1 week was very hard for her when she returned, and she had some very emotional, touching stories that she had to say. And just the community I belong to the Aga Khan community.
Yes, and, you invited me to go to that exhibit with you, which was really moving. And I feel like that's another incredible thing, that we can be friends with people from different backgrounds, different faith bases, but we still have the same priorities of taking care of our families and the people that mean that we don't even know.
Yeah.
And so, I'm honestly honored to be a part of this community that I was born into, because children are taught to volunteer since they are, I think, 5 years old. You have to help in the mosque, and moving on, take part in, different activities, different boards. And that is something super amazing about, instilling it into your child at a very early age. And I guess, after my mom passed away, which was around the same time, literally, that I started getting involved, I felt like the angel of her like passed that magic on to me, and that's how I've been enrolled.
And you, Stacey?
My story is not nearly as moving as that. I actually grew up very young with a single mom and not with a lot of means, and was not exposed to anything of the sort. And really, honestly, I have to say, I give the credit back to Houston, because I was newly married, 28 years old when we moved to Houston, and I was a retail buyer. So I was being exposed to these ladies and these events, but the meaning of it really wasn't like soaking into me. I was just doing my job, and I had always been very into fashion from very young. My mom always had she collected every magazine, didn't get rid of any of them, like it was like a library. And so I was more seeing it as like, oh, this fun fancy party, and little things like best dressed. I thought it legitimately was just like, who's the prettiest and who dresses the best. I didn't realize the philanthropic connection with March of Dimes, etc. So it was one of those things that I feel like we just started as we got to know more people in Houston, and someone would have something that they were supporting and they would invite us, or we would see something, or I would go, quite honestly, I have to say, I have to give a lot of credit to Tootsie's, because Mickey Rosemarin, the founder and owner of Tootsie's, who passed away several years ago, he was very philanthropic, and he was very plugged in and friends with a lot of these ladies who had a really philanthropic heart. And so as Tootsie still does with the new ownership with Norman and Donna, they are very generous with their space, with their money, and they host a lot of events. And so I started off participating in these events that were happening through a fashion channel through my job, and got to know a lot of these ladies who had their own charities. That was how I got involved with Deck My Room. I used to, work with Recipe for Success. These were all like friends of Mickey's. And so as I started going and meeting people the way that, as you said, like you and I know each other just from seeing each other and having mutual friends.
We talk about fashion, but we connect over our purpose and over how we come together to make a difference.
Exactly. And I think at first, when it's a new experience, you feel like it's about the party. It's about the, what am I going to wear and who am I going to see? And
Which is still fun.
It is also fun. But I think that you start, like I said, you start narrowing down and selecting, and you start feeling like, oh, I really like what these people are doing, and I want to be more involved in some way. And it honestly was something, it wasn't that intentional. It was more just like I was just supporting friends and causes that seemed like they were doing good work. Mostly with women and children.
Organic and authentic.
It is organic and authentic. And it's interesting because Sneha for years was like, you need to, do, what else have you done? What are you doing? And she was like trying to get me more involved. And I was like, I just want to do the things that
because she has so many connections and she wasn't using them the right way. I'm telling you, I think you had some of the best retail connections that you were literally not tapping into. And all of a sudden she started tapping into this, and I'm like, damn. Girl, you got it.
I think I just, like you said, being authentic, I didn't want to force the issue. To me, it wasn't about oh, I want to be in charge of something, or I want to throw a party, or I want to be more involved and get my picture taken and all this. It was more just do I enjoy this? Do I like this group of people? Do I like what they're doing? And I think it just was one of those things that grew. It's really contagious. And I think one of the other things that's very interesting, someone we all know, Gracie Kavner, said to me one time, we were at a very small lunch together, and we were having a conversation, and we were going around the room talking about what it is about Houston, what is it about women and friendships in Houston. And she said something that I always carry over, and she said, Houston is not a who's your daddy town.
Yes, I love that statement.
So it's there is that element, of course, of people who were born and raised in Houston in generations. And but if you are coming into Houston as a newcomer and you're smart and you want to do the work and you are willing to give your time, and I just think that it's very accessible. Whereas, I grew up on the East Coast, and as much as you can do things, and I have friends who, followed the junior league path and all this, I think it's still very much more exclusive to get involved in these types of events. And I feel like here in Houston, the people who are doing it are really genuinely doing it
And they're
for
very
the right
welcoming.
reasons.
And they're very welcoming, especially to like new people. I mean, newcomers, whatever.
Yeah.
They want them to come and be a part of it. And I think the more the merrier. Come
Yeah.
Well, I love what you said about Who's Your Daddy, and I've been texting with Gracie.
Yeah.
I got more involved with Recipe for Success again through fashion and fashion in the fields that she does. But as I've shared a lot, our daughter Bella has had a lot of health issues and been through a lot, and food has been a part of that. And so I've really been focused on that. And when you are not in a place that you can take your kids to be exposed to a nutritionist and tell them what, I think it's amazing what she's even doing, reaching out and going to places in the community, but she's doing that also through her fashion contacts and the way that she's reaching out. So I want to bring up a term called ikigai. I emailed y'all about what I talk about in the podcast, and that's one of them. So I researched and found this is a Japanese term, and it's talking about finding your purpose in life and living your best life. And it says when you figure out what you love to do and what you're good at doing and how you can make the world a better place while you do it, you can reach this state of flow, and you can do it continually because it fulfills you and you're doing it.
Absolutely.
And some people, it's their business, and I feel like I'm blessed because I'm able to take my business and use it as a platform to share stories of friends that are doing things that are meaningful to them and to give back to the community. But it is through fashion. And, you know, that's what Sneha is saying about you. You're taking these connections that you've made all along, and the opportunities we've had through meeting people throughout the years and through your business and all of that. And I think a lot of people are looking for ways to make their life have more purpose. So I think it's great to share these opportunities, ways to get involved. So if someone wanted to get involved, how would they participate? How could they come to the gala? How could they go on the ski trip? What are ways that they could find out more and get more connected?
So our events are fundraisers. So definitely you have to buy a ticket. And that's the same thing for Operation Smile Gala.
But that's for any entertainment.
Yes.
And in fact, we pay for tickets to go to charity events and don't go to concerts.
True.
Because I'm more fulfilled being at.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you see celebrities at your galas.
Yeah.
Yes, we've had we've had Zachary Levi, who is amazing, and we've had Henry Golding in the past. And are we announcing it?
I
Crazy
think
Rich
are.
Asians. I love
him.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Like she's whizzing through these names,
I know.
and it's like
Was the other guy Shazam?
Zachary Levi, like Shazam.
I mean, like you look at him and he's so overpowering, and it's crazy, and they're just so chill.
It's so
and
funny. It was just
their
texting him.
energy.
I was just texting him yesterday. I was like, "Listen, we've got a gala. Can you come this year?" And he's like, "No, I'm filming." But it's just so amazing because we've now had I've had these good friendships with these guys now, and they're so
and there are
genuinely
people
down to earth.
that literally get connected to a purpose.
Yeah.
Because they happen to be great at doing what they do, which is acting, and they're famous for it, but they are just people
And they have
with families.
They have the superpower of just asking someone, "Hey, can you help?" And people go crazy just to see them. They want to pay the ticket, and if they ask for help, everyone says yes. So
well, you've seen, because you've been to the gala, you've seen how like literally Henry Golding, he was supposed to be like basically velvet roped, and only the VIPs were supposed to get a picture. He literally did not leave. He stayed like 40 minutes after the gala was over, just like standing there at the step and repeat, letting anyone that wanted to come and take a picture with him take a picture.
And I literally had a code. I was like, like say something to me, like, when you want to stop. And I was the one going like, "Do you want me to stop?" And he's like, "No, it's okay. I want to meet them. They are my fans. This is what makes me who I am." And I was like, okay.
And when we met him too, it was through the Ski and Smile Gala, and he was with his wife and at the time they only had one child, his little baby. She was like not even 2 years old. I think she was like 1+. And so that just, again, just shows like they're bringing their families in. It's not just like this one guy shows up and he's got an entourage around him. And the same thing with Zachary last year at the Ski and Smile Challenge. He had his girlfriend with him, and this is like part of his like personal life. And I feel like when these people come to our gala, and they really do just like act like they treat everyone just like a regular person because you're all there for the same reason.
Their celebrity status because they're here for such an important cause. And I feel that's what's amazing, right?
Yeah. So who's this year?
So this year we're very excited to announce that we have confirmed Juliana Hough from Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my goodness.
Singer, dancer, actress.
Yep.
I love that. And by the way, you recruited me to do Dancing with the Stars locally.
Yes.
And then because you were an artist and you had your first big art exhibit, weren't even there. But wow, I have even more respect for those people dancing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It is truly athleticism. And you did Dancing with the Stars. That was such a...
it was a long time back, and we're not talking about
locally
it.
for Apaha.
Oh, but about the gala. So I would say probably the website.
The website. So it's Operation Smile.
Can we tag like a URL on the...
Yeah, if you go to events, you can, scroll down to the event in Houston, which is taking place on September 14th. And we're very excited to have Juliana. She is coming up with her new book, so we're helping her promote her new book as well. And she is one of the kindest human beings ever. She's a very down-to-earth person, so we're very excited to have her and introduce her to everyone in Houston, whoever comes to the gala. The tickets are $350 and tables start at $3,500. So it's not one of your super expensive galas, because I know galas in Houston start at about $1,000 a ticket nowadays. So the reason why we've kept our prices at $350 is because we want every seat to fund a child's surgery. So $240 goes towards a child's surgery, and the rest is your fancy schmancy meal.
Yes, and then you have been giving out little bears, right?
Yes. So we've got 3 bears: Zachary, Luke, and Gregory.
I don't remember. I think that sounds right.
Okay, my bad. So this was these were actually 3 children that were born with facial deformalities. They didn't have a cleft lip, but their mother was kind enough to not their mother. I'm sorry. They hang on. I'm like getting the story completely mumbo jumbled, but they were donated by one of our donors. And this year we're out of bears.
I know.
We're out of bears. So
we're trying to make something happen.
No. So we have a great sponsor, which is
Barefoot Dreams.
Barefoot Dreams, and they have the most cutest teddy bears. And so we would be distributing the Barefoot Dreams teddy bears at this year's gala instead of the original.
That's so smart. But what I loved about that, and the reason that I bring it up, is because it was something, because when your kids are younger and you go out, mom and dad are going out and we're going to a charity event, when you have something to bring back to them, then it's also a talking point that you can talk about, that they were blessed to be born into a family, that they have opportunities and other families weren't blessed with the same opportunity that they were. So I think it's great, again, about this multi-generational bringing people together. Well, let's talk fashion a little bit. So you said blue is the color of Operation Smile. I love your blue jacket today. What is the fashion for the event? Do you see black tie?
I would say yes. Most of our crowd pretty much comes in ball gowns.
Yeah, black tie and formal wear.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not exclusive. I mean, there are some people, you will see people wearing cocktail attire.
And there are some people that wear traditional, because we have a good Asian crowd that comes to our gala, and sometimes they dress Asian. So wear whatever. Come, just bring your checkbooks.
I love it. And lots of picture taking.
Yes.
This is definitely a photography gala. Okay, so with fall happening, Fashion Week around the corner, tell us, I didn't prep you, so this is the question. Like, are there certain things as fashion girls, because you are both best dressed and you are super fashionable at all the events, are there things you're adding to your collections this fall that you've thought of already? I know you're super supportive when there's a charity event, and I'm kind of strategic that way. Like, I know I'm going to go to Valentino and support you guys at Valentino, so I'm going to buy there. I've already been to Tootsie's, so I know I'm going to support you guys at Tootsie's, so I pulled something that I'm going to buy that night. Do you have certain things that you're adding into your wardrobes this fall? that you can think of, or any styles? Like the
Do you have something
preppy
in head?
girl's supposed to be back in.
I don't really follow that way. I think I'm more.
Do you?
I like to follow. I like to watch the shows as soon as they're published. I'm addicted to Vogue, the Vogue app. But also there are, as Sneha said, like there's certain retailers that I have relationships with, and I like to work with them. I like to see what's coming. I don't like to see what's in the store. I like to see
what's coming next.
And then the way I do it, I don't ever go into shopping thinking like I need something red or I need this certain look. I always just like to see like what's happening, like what are they putting out there, and then I go through and see like which one of these looks or what of these items even. Sometimes it's just an item. I'll be like, I don't care about this whole look. I just want this item. I like to pick the things that seem like the most exciting. It's like that like spark joy.
This blouse is such a statement.
Thank you.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
And then you paired it with the classic black short.
I do have a tendency to have, I don't know if I would call it a tomboyish mode, but
that is definitely not tomboy, girl.
Well, you know, like I mean, you can't, I don't know if you can see, I have like Bermuda shorts on. Like I do tend to do like, I don't know if it's like being raised in the East Coast, like a slightly like safer look. Like if I wear something short on the bottom, I wear something long on the top. If I wear something, you know, very fitted, I wear a little something over it. So I do have I wear a lot of shorts, a lot of flats, a lot of like oversized like man style clothing along with the nice dresses. But
and I love that you did that too. There's even times you buy from the men's collection.
I do actually.
And translate it over to the ladies.
Yeah.
If she likes certain pieces and then she has it tailored. Because what I have learned as I've grown into more luxury brands is that it is still all about the tailoring. Like you could wear a very basic designer, and if it's tailored well, you could look fabulous in it.
Yes.
And I think I made that mistake for a lot of years, is I would not invest in the tailoring afterwards. I would think if I bought a designer that was...
I think if the fit is not good, if it doesn't fit your body and shows your curves, you're wasting your money, right?
Yeah.
You don't want it to be like a blob on you.
And you know, you both know, it goes back to the relationships, and I think that's why, like...
Yes, like you support...
Yeah, like if I really connect with someone who at a certain, like there's stores that I shop at, like I'll just give Valentino for example, because they've been very supportive of Operation Smile. We did a kickoff there a couple of years ago. They donated 10% of the proceeds for the night, and we did very well. And then this year it wasn't our kickoff, but it was our honorary announcement party. Did I think even better this year. And it's those relationships. And if you really connect with, I've had the same salesperson with Valentino for over 10 years now. Same thing. I've had the same person at Saks over 10 years. I develop personal friendships and interact. One of my best friends, who we all know, Brittany Rose Wetterer, I met her because she was my salesperson at Louis Vuitton for years, and we just connected and became friends. So to me, there's not that dividing line of, you know, the relationship is a relationship.
Right.
And,
it's not friend or business.
So I like to support. I might maybe tend to buy more in one direction, but I have to say, like, for example, like Valentino, not only have they done the kickoff, but this year they've bought a table. Who else do we have? Saks Fifth Avenue. They donated an auction item and they've bought some seats. Tootsie's has doing the kickoff. Cartier is doing a table sponsorship.
Porsche is doing a very nice sponsorship.
Maria's always so generous.
They're very generous this year, for sure. And I just asked her, I said, you know, are you interested in doing this? Is there something you'd like to do? Yes. How much is it? And I told her, and she just went straight to the, like, we'll do this. And it was just more than I ever expected. So, I mean, it's really blown me away how this community in Houston has really like stepped in. And sometimes you just have to ask, and you have to know the timing. I will say, like, the way that these companies work is, I mean, you have to ask 6 months in advance, and you have to be prepared not to know the answer until a week before. So I mean, it's a process, but I think it's very, the reciprocity of the relationship is there. And I think that goes back to what we were saying about Houston and about being like, you know, part of the community of the world, is you make connections with people who, you know, in different jobs, in different industries. And I think it's just, you know, just so happens to be that fashion was something that we're very interested in.
I mean, it connects everyone, no matter, you know, your race. So, and I think in Houston, all our our crowd, I mean, I shouldn't say our crowd, but our friends love to shop, and they love philanthropy. So this is
and they love dressing.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting. I remember I went to New York. I went to the New York City Ballet Gala, and I was so worried I wouldn't be dressed. And there were people that literally came from work, and here I have on this big ball gown, and there were celebrities with ball gowns, but I was one of the only people with a ball gown. So I've learned that Texas women, we just tee it up. We love to dress for lunch. We love to dress for any occasion that have.
But I go to the grocery store and I'm dressed.
Exactly. It's just what we do. We're dressed girls. But speaking of dresses, let's talk about pre-owned fashion, recycled fashion. Do you recycle things in your closet? Are you only wearing the current year? As a vintage girl, I tend to like even things that other people have owned and wore before. Tell us how you feel about all that.
So I definitely do rewear my gowns. Particularly last year, I picked up this really gorgeous gown by Andrew Wynn. Little did I know at that time that was his last collection. He quit after that. And I wore it to the Best Dressed photo shoot. Luckily, that was black and white, and nobody got to see the gorgeous red color. And I wore it again for my Operation Smile Gala. And I was like, okay, I should wear it again. And then Paper City writes this big article about the best gowns and puts a picture of them. Like, okay, and I can wear it again for another couple years.
Well, and your Women of Substance gown, that custom-made beautiful silver beaded gown, didn't you wear that again to the Smile Gala a couple years later?
I had this gorgeous, gorgeous gown by this Indian designer called Falguni and Shane. They do a bunch of Beyonce's stage clothes, and it was this gorgeous gown with like a bunch of rhinestones and heavy, heavy embroidery. I think that gown probably weighs about 20 pounds.
Oh, sorry, Women of Distinction, not
Women of
Substance.
Distinction. And I wore it for my Women of Distinction Gala, and I wore it again to Operation Smile.
And your Tom Ford, I've seen you wear more than once.
I always wear my gowns more because I feel like if you're paying so
cost
much,
per wear.
Exactly.
I do too.
We get to justify it. Yes.
You know, you have to at least wear it a couple of times, right?
I might be stealing, I haven't decided yet. I might be stealing her idea for wearing my, I didn't know I was going to get Best Dressed when we were planning this originally. And I got this amazing gown. It was like an excuse to buy something that like was just like, it was something amazing that I was like, I don't know if I have anywhere to go with it. I have gowns in my closet. So I got it for the Best Dressed photo shoot. And that might be coming back for Smile. If not, I had planned in my mind another beautiful gown I hadn't worn in like 5 years that I actually wore with Sneha to the UNICEF Gala years ago. And no one really noticed or saw. So I was like, oh, that was my favorite gown. I think it's long enough to finally like rotate it back.
I actually wore this back my gown in New York for the New York UNICEF Gala. Nobody's seen it, so I might just wear that again.
I pull that back out.
Yeah,
I know.
Just recently met him too and love his pieces. I don't have a gown from him, but I do love. So I invited myself to go to Stacey's closet one day, and it was quite an experience.
It was scary.
But I just love how she remembers where she bought it, what year it was.
She has a great memory.
Who the designers are, because it is like talking to a man with his watch collection. It literally is a collection of her pieces, and I think it's kind of like in Devil Wears Prada, where
the cerulean blue.
She's like, "Oh, you think this is silly, but the people
you think you chose that sweater."
Yes,
Oh my God,
but it is truly about collections, and that's what people say to me, like, how can a bag be worth that much money, or how can people justify for some reason that jewelry is expensive, but they don't understand a bag or clothing. And it truly is as special. It's artwork. There is something about it. And I think even more so, it's about how it makes us feel when we wear it. And we have to be confident inside. But the thing that does make the biggest difference is our smile, I think, to people. And so I do love that Operation Smile gives kids a gift that only God can give them as a smile, and Operation Smile is able to give them that smile, because I think it tops any outfit we could wear, anything we could do is a smile. So thank you for giving back. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
It's already time to wrap up.
Before you go, thank you so much for your generous donation for your hand back to our Salon
Yes,
option. So
it's
thank
a
you so
Chanel
much.
boy bag.
Very
And a
beautiful.
burgundy color, which is the hottest handbag color.
Yeah, we'll get a
Can
lot
I
of
tell you,
comfort.
because it is Chanel, I will say, I
Yes.
just had a friend talking to me yesterday and saying a pair of Chanel flats that they are looking at this current season coming up, and they're trying to decide if it's a good investment. She was describing the color to me, and I was like, that is the same color as the Chanel bag. We
Okay,
are
then invite her to the
auctioning.
gala. and let's buy
Exactly.
it.
She's coming. She'll be at the gala. I was like,
Exact-
you need to get this bag to go with your brand new season shoes. So very au courant.
Yes, I love it. Yes. Okay, ladies. Well, until next time, everybody keep living the authentic life.
Bye-bye. Thank you.